Okay, let's talk about the biggest mistake that recruiters make, and that's ghosting their interview candidates. Bringing people in for an interview and then they never hear from you again, or you tell them they're going to hear from you and they never do. Um, it is just like my absolute biggest pet peeve because it's such a reputation destroyer and it just doesn't need to happen. Recruiters, if you're interviewing people, at the end of the interview, the best thing that you can do to build your trust with that person and frankly your organization's reputation is to say, you know what, because I want to be upfront with you and I appreciate your time, I'm going to let you know when you can expect to hear from me by. Maybe you'll say Thursday, Friday, whatever it might be. You'll hear from me by this day and get back to them on that day. Now, if you can't make a decision by that day, still get back to them and say, hey, I know I told you that I'd be ready to make a decision by Thursday. I just need an extra couple days, and this is why. People will so value and respect that. You know, here's the impact when recruiters ghost their candidates or don't give them a timeline or never get back to them. That candidate feels disrespected, right? That you didn't value their time, that they know that if they work with your organization, that it's highly unlikely that the organization is going to treat them with respect or value your time. So you're actually putting a bad face for your organization to that client, totally unintentionally. And the trickle effect of that, or the knock-on effect of that, is that it actually affects your reputation and your organization's reputation when you ghost candidates. And that actually has a really unintended consequence to your talent pipeline. By that, I mean how many people are willing and interested in applying for your organization. If you actually really want to positively impact your talent pipeline, make sure you get back to those people. And let me tell you a couple stories about why. First of all, anytime that I've had to let a candidate know that they weren't the one that we ultimately moved forward with, and I did it on time and I didn't ghost them, they always say that they appreciated it. Now, obviously it's not the news that they wanted to hear, and sometimes they might not really appreciate it. They wish they'd heard something else, but they can't help but respect the fact that you got back to them. And a few times that's happened to me where they were really good candidates, and for whatever reason, there may have just been somebody else there that had that little extra detail or tiebreaker, or maybe they were an internal candidate, and that was why we didn't move forward with them. But in future opportunities, when I've called back to them, they pretty much almost immediately either accept the job that I'm calling them back for, or they immediately accept another interview for another job or apply for that job that might be open for, because they value the fact that I respected them and they know that that's the type of organization they want to be a part of. So that has that good reputation attached to it. The other story is that I've actually interviewed people, and when I ask them when they hear about the job, they've told me, I applied for this job because a friend of mine interviewed with you and didn't get the job, but they were so impressed by the fact that you got back to them, they knew that it was a good place to apply for, and they recommended that I applied to this job and interviewed with you. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is that if you take the time to give your candidates that you interview a clear timeline and you follow through in it and you don't ghost them and you're upfront with them about whether or not they got the job, and as much as you're allowed to divulge, as to why if they weren't successful, they're going to respect you. More people are going to apply to your organization. More people are going to say good things about your organization, even when you don't have the news that they might not want to hear that day. So, simple tip of the day for every recruiter: give all of your interview candidates a timeline as to when they're going to hear back from you by, and follow through with it, and don't ghost your candidates. Make every effort that you can to get back to them. I know that it takes work on the front end, but I also know that it really pays off in the back end with your reputation, having that rich candidate pipeline or talent pipeline when you apply for jobs, and being somebody that people respect and admire in your community and in your circles. So taking the time to do it now, it's going to save you a ton of grief later.